FYI, adventurer and businessman Sir Richard Branson tells us why dyslexia is nothing to be ashamed of.
I think that dyslexic people think differently than other people, and because we have difficulties with some things, we actually exceed at the things that we are good at.
And I'll be investigating why fast fashion is great for saving money, but not so great for saving the planet. Hey there! Here in FYI, it's our mission to investigate anything that's going on in the world right now.
Let's start with an update on our recent investigation into Kitsu Vape. We discovered that despite warnings that electric cigarettes could be bad for your health and addictive, a rising number of kids are vaping and they are being sold vapes illegally. Now, a new survey seems to show an increasing number of children and teens are trying out vaping and are still able to buy them, even though they should only be sold to over 18s.
The survey by the organisation ASH spoke to nearly 3,000 11 to 17-year-olds. It found that children trying vaping has gone up by half in the last year, from 7.7% to 11.6%.
Corner shops are still the most common place to get a hold of vapes, even though it's illegal to sell them to under 18s.
The number of children smoking vapes has also risen to 7.6%.
That may not sound that many, but it could mean hundreds of thousands of people our age are vaping.
The Prime Minister watched our investigation, and in an exclusive interview with me and Braden, he promised to crack down on shops that sell vapes to kids.
We are having a crackdown squad. We've put millions of pounds behind it, and they're going to go and make sure all the rules are enforced. You know, no one should be vaping under 18. It's illegal to sell vapes to children. The adverts for these things are designed to appeal to kids. You know, with the colours they use, the characters they use. That's not right. The flavours. This is all things that shouldn't be happening.
You can see more of that interview and our FYI investigation into Kitsu Vape on Sky Kids On Demand and our webpage. Let's check out some more stories that got our attention. This is the damage caused by a storm known as a cyclone, which hit Bangladesh and Myanmar. The speed of the wind was up to 130 miles per hour. Tens of thousands of people reached sturdy buildings and shelters. This is the biggest cyclone to hit the two countries in 10 years.
Yeah, and check this out. Bangladesh has one of the world's largest refugee camps. It's home to over 1 million Rohingya Muslims who fled violent attacks in neighbouring Myanmar. The authorities say the refugees were evacuated from the camps, which is made up of tents and shacks. Now the focus is to get food and shelter to those who need it, and charities have launched an appeal for aid.
Well, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also been asking for help as Russia continues to attack his country. Here he is just a few days ago in the UK talking to our Prime Minister.
So, what is he asking the Prime Minister for?
Well, the President has been touring around Europe meeting world leaders. He's been asking for more money to support Ukrainian families, and fighter jets, missiles, tanks, bullets, you name it.
And he's getting that support, right?
Yes and no. He thanked the UK and other countries for their support. The UK is sending him fighter jets and attack drones, but he says more help is still needed.
You did a lot, your government and His Majesty, the King, and of course your people, your society. We're thankful from all our hearts, from Ukrainians, from our soldiers. We are thankful.
Not long after they left the UK, Russia attacked the capital Kyiv, with the heaviest bombing of the city since the invasion began.
Well, I've got some happy news. Not if you're a Manchester United fan, though. This is the Chelsea women's team lifting the FA Cup for a third time in a row, making history there as they beat Manchester United 1-0.
And we've been on the lookout for some fake news. So there are posts on social media warning us to look out for the Asian Hornet. Quick online search and you can see they look like a wasp, but much bigger. The worry is that they attack honeybees, and we really need them because they help fruit and vegetables grow by flying around and pollinating plants.
But are Asian hornets really invading the UK from abroad? Well, there have been reported sightings in Kent and Northumberland. Fake or fact? We'll let you know later.
So this is Sir Richard Branson. He's one of the most successful and richest entrepreneurs in the UK.
And this is George, an FYI News Club member from Woodlands Primary School. And they both have something in common. They have dyslexia, a learning difficulty that affects lots of people.
If someone has dyslexia, they can find it difficult to read, write or spell. But research also shows that they can be talented and creative in different types of areas.
Richard Branson said that his dyslexia actually helped him to become so successful. He invited George to interview him about his campaign to get teachers to see dyslexia as an advantage, not a disadvantage.
Hello, thank you for coming to talk to me today.
Hi, George. Good to meet you.
You call dyslexia your superpower. What do you mean by that?
I think that dyslexic people think differently than other people, and they're generally more creative. And because we have difficulties with some things, we actually exceed at the things that we are good at. And you'll find that throughout life, you will exceed at things that other kids cannot exceed at.
Your new campaign, what are you trying to achieve with that?
There's a wonderful organization called Made by Dyslexia, and they have created a program for companies and schools to help them in teaching and training people who are dyslexic.
How has dyslexia affected you as an adult?
I suspect if I wasn't dyslexia, I wouldn't be so inquisitive. I wouldn't want to be learning all the time, from starting a student magazine to wanting to build a record company, to start an airline, even ultimately to start a space company. And it's also been good in that it's taught me to get a great team of people around me and to look for the best in people. And that's, I think, really important in life, is always look for the best in the people around you, and you'll achieve lots.
Did you feel like you got enough support when you were younger?
The word dyslexia didn't exist, I don't think, when I was young, and therefore I didn't get any support. But today it's great that dyslexia is accepted, and schools give extra time to help people who are dyslexic.
Did you imagine you'd be as successful today if you weren't dyslexic?
I'm absolutely certain that I owe a lot of my success to being dyslexic and wanting to try to prove something to myself and prove something to people around me. And it's been a lot of fun, and I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of fun in the years to come. Maybe if we're lucky, working with Virgin one day. You're a dyslexic thinker and you should be proud of it. So best of luck to you.
Thank you for coming to talk to me.
Thanks, George.
Nice one, George. So, if your school hasn't set up an FYI news club, then you could be missing out. Members get the chance to report and have their say here on FYI, just like George.
Plus, you get lots of resources for your club, so you can discuss and learn more about the big stories. Just get your teacher to head to our webpage for more details. So we seem to be seeing more and more of these, right? Wind farms. Britain's wind farms have generated more electricity in the first 3 months of this year than gas-fired power stations. That's a first. The government has promised to get more wind and solar panel farms up and running. But experts warn we rely too much on gas and coal to generate electricity. Fossil fuels that release gases into the atmosphere that lead to climate change. Did you know that it's not just fossil fuels that's bad for the environment? It's the clothes we wear too. Don't get it? Neither did we. Maya has been investigating.
Let's be honest, we all love to look our best. And we all have our own different types of style. And this definitely isn't mine. That's more like it. But have you ever stopped and thought about what you wear and what damage it can be causing to the environment? Well, here's a few facts I found out. In the UK, we buy around £60 billion worth of clothes every year, and that's more than any other country in Europe. According to a recent survey, the average person owns 76 items of clothing, but throws away about 6 items every month. And right now, less than 1% of the material we chuck out is recycled into new garments. Let's face it, we can't escape adverts for fashion and deals from clothes shops online, but the main reason we buy so many clothes has got to be the incredibly low prices. Take a look at this t-shirt, for example, and guess how much I paid for it. Was it £20, £10, or £2? Well, the answer is £2. It sounds like a bargain, and fast fashion, as it's often called, does help to make clothes affordable for everyone. But you should be really careful when clothes are this cheap, as it can mean they're of poor quality and they won't last long. The best advice is to always check out how your clothes have been made. To find out more about this, I'm going to ask for some help, and I know just the person. Izzy Manuel is an expert on sustainable fashion. Hi Izzy, thanks for talking to me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure.
So, we all love a good deal, right? But should we be wary of things like my £2 t-shirt?
I think when it comes to products that are that cheap, we have to think about how they're made and who they're made by. So some clothing stores are sustainable and are ethical, but sadly not all of them are. And when something is that cheap, often the garment workers are the ones that have to pay for that, which means that they're the ones that are working in unethical conditions, they may not be paid a living wage, and actually there's an estimation that only 2% of garment workers worldwide actually paid living wages.
And what about the cost to the environment of fast fashion? Is that a problem?
I think this is something that's not really talked about that often, but fast fashion is actually so detrimental to the environment. So for example, for a single pair of jeans, it actually requires 10,000 litres of water to make them, which is equivalent to 125 full bathtubs worth of water. And I think when you think about the chemicals involved in processing of garments, whether that's dyeing, washing, cleaning, all of that adds up, and often this water and this toxic waste ends up in rivers, which is obviously really unsustainable.
So what can we do about all of this? Well, one obvious solution is to just buy fewer clothes. It saves you money and it helps the environment. The truth is that too many of us are buying new outfits, knowing that we'll probably only wear them a few times before we throw them away. But does ditching fast fashion mean you're going to look a bit rubbish?
Absolutely not. For example, I am wearing a full second-hand outfit today, and personally, I feel like I look alright. Just because you don't buy fast fashion anymore doesn't mean that you don't have to look cool, doesn't mean you won't look trendy, and there are so many ways around that. For example, you can swap with your friends, you can buy second-hand, you can go to charity shops. All these things can still create a wardrobe that you love that isn't as impactful on the environment.
One other top tip is that when you put your clothes in the washing machine, try to use a lower temperature. It helps your clothes to last longer and reduces the amount of microplastics that are released from fabrics like polyester or nylon. Izzy, what else can we do to help tackle the problem?
I think one of the things that we could definitely do more is actually learn to repair our clothes, do small alterations. For example, do you actually know how to use a sewing kit? It's actually the best thing ever. And it's a great way to maintain our clothes, to fix small holes, and it means it keeps up in our wardrobes for longer.
Thank you, Izzy. That's brilliant advice.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope it was helpful.
So what have I learned? Well, it is possible to look great without it having to cost the earth. And instead of fast fashion, maybe the answer is to get fashion that lasts.
So, is this story about Asian hornets invading the UK true? It is indeed fact, but only a few have been spotted. The big concern is that these large wasp-like bugs prey on honeybees, which help plants that produce food to grow. If you see one, the advice is to keep away, as they will sting if they feel threatened, and report your sighting to the local authorities.
We're always after your stories here on FYI. So if you have something that you want to report on, get in touch via our webpage, just like Sophia did. She's a rising star in a very difficult sport. She wanted to tell you more about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
This is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, a martial arts that I've been learning since I was 5 years old. The idea is to overcome your opponent using particular self-defense moves. It's all about technique, and we are not hurting each other in any way. You have to be trained properly to do this, only with an adult professional watching over you. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 6 years. I've won over 50 competitions. I'm an IBJJF, British and European champion. I've been ranked #1 female in the UK by the All-Stars. One of my goals is to go to less developed countries to go teach young kids, because when I was little I used to always be in a shell and be very shy, but since I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu I became more confident. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu feels the closest way of having superpowers, so that's why I think other young kids should do it, to come out of their shell.
Nice report, Sophia.
Yeah, those are some moves. Well, that's all we've got for you this time. Make sure to check out all of our videos with lots more info and your stories. See you next time.
Bye.